So this morning's film was an interesting one. I had not heard of it before, but I found it when I was at the rental store at Videodrome, and it looked interesting. And then I saw that it was directed and produced and starring Cornel Wilde, and I was like, Cornel Wilde directed a film? What? So I had to see it, obviously. It was from a screenplay by Horton Foote, and it also starred Gene Wallace, Dan Duryea, and Lee Grant. And Stephen Hill, who it's introducing Stephen Hill. I think this was his first film. He went on to be in all kinds of things. You look him up, you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy. He also, the film also had a really early performance from Dennis Weaver. So, like even earlier than when he shows up in Touch of Evil. So there's a lot of people in this film. Beautiful snowtime cinematography by Joseph Lachelle, who, let's see, what else did he shoot? Oh, he shot Laura. Well, there you go. So this film was independently made and distributed by United Artists. You can get it on DVD from Kino. That's the DVD I watched. It's from 1955, and essentially the story is about three bank robbers who have fled to a small New England farmhouse. Bank robbers played by Cornel Wilde, Lee Grant, and Stephen Hill. The farmhouse is owned by Dan Duryea, who is Cornel Wilde's brother. He is married to Jean Wallace, and they have a son. Or do they have a son? There is a child. But you find out, and you kind of find out right away because of the casting of the child that looks nothing like Dan Duryea and looks a lot like Cornel Wilde. You kind of figure out why the dynamic that's going on here. So part of it is in the cabin as they're working through all their angst, and Gene Wallace is helping pull a bullet out of Cornel Wilde. And then the final act of the film all takes place out in the snow with them trying to escape. There's a great line with Lee Grant where she talks about the fur coat that she has, and it's basically everything for her. And there's a part where Cornel Wilde talks about sort of police corruption, and it's great, and you know that it's honest and true and a really good picture of what police corruption can look like. And then because this is a film made during the production code and like 50s Red Scare time, he then at the end sort of recants everything that he said and just says like, I'm rotten. And you're like, no, you aren't. I mean, you are rotten a little bit, but like what you were saying is totally probably what happened to you, and they have to make you, demonize yourself and not the police because that was part of the production rules. So it's interesting. This was one of the more like depressing and sad noirs I've maybe ever seen. Like I was real upset when everybody died because you really love these characters even though they're villains. They're not good people, but you feel for them and you feel for where they find themselves. And Dan Duryea is completely playing against type. He's not a heavy. He's the intellectual older brother of Cornel Wilde, and that adds like a whole new layer to the film because you're not used to Dan Duryea acting like that. I just thought it was a brilliant film. I don't know that Cornel Wilde ever directed anything else. I always forget that Cornel Wilde's actually Hungarian. And then I look him up and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, actually, he directed a ton of stuff. I'm lying. Okay, he directed an episode of General Electric Theater, then Storm Warning. Or Storm Fear. This was his first film. Then he did a film called The Devil's Hairpin. That's a great name. Maracaibo, Lancelot and Guinevere, The Naked Prey, Beach Red, No Blade of Grass, and Shark's Treasure. So he actually directed a whole bunch of films. Interesting. The Devil's Hairpin is a car racing film in Technicolor and Vistavision. It was also written by Cornel Wilde. It's written, produced, directed, and starring. Wow. I gotta see that one. Oh, that one also has Gene Wallace and Mary Astor. Interesting. Gene Wallace is great. Oh, they were married. Things I didn't know. Okay, so Gene Wallace at one point was married to Franchot Tone also. I love him. So she and Cornel Wilde were married for 30 years. That's why they were in all these movies together. Interesting. Interesting. They were married until he died. And obviously, they must have met while making The Big Combo. The Big Combo. Oh no, The Big Combo is 55. They were already together. Huh. Sorry, I'm learning things as I record this. This is what happens when you start clicking around on Wikipedia. You learn things. Anyways, Cornel Wilde. Interesting. Oh, no. Okay, wait, hold on. I just told you the wrong thing. They got divorced. They were married for 30 years and then got divorced, and then he died 8 years later. I always wonder how you end up married for 30 years and then divorced. Like, did you want to get divorced sometime in that whole 30 years and then you just didn't, and then finally something makes you want to, or I don't know. And then they both died shortly after getting divorced, which just seems sort of a shame. But I can't even, I've never had a relationship last more than 3 months, so I can't say how that would work. Anyways, this was Storm Fear from 1955. So I guess this is the same year as The Big Combo. If you haven't seen The Big Combo, you should definitely see that one. It's a beautifully shot film. Storm Fear is very good. It really made me sad. Has a great performance from a child. Also, I should talk about the child. He's central to the plot. It's David Stollery, who is still with us. Oh, wow. He was on the Mickey Mouse Club, among other things. Anyways, I think you'd enjoy this film. It's definitely not one of those noirs that you hear of a lot, but it's a great one, and it really encapsulates sort of everything you kind of want in a noir. So this was 1955's Storm Fear, directed by Cornel Wilde and starring Cornel Wilde, and I highly recommend it. Last thing, the music is by Elmer Bernstein, and it's everything you want from an Elmer Bernstein score. It's very dramatic. It underscores all of the moments that you really want underscored. I'm really glad that I blind picked this up because I had never even heard of it, and I'm just so glad that I've seen it. So Storm Fear, very good. Sort of a cold winter noir.